All right, folks, I just want to revisit this 8,500 American troop increase under the NATO flag, this idea. It's not for certain yet. It's being talked about by the defense, by everybody in the White House today. Joining us to weigh in on this, former National Security Council Chief of Staff Alexander Gray and Robert O'Brien, colleague. I don't know, there are other titles we should have put up there, Alex, but you'll carry the ball. So what do you think? Look, I'm not, you know me, I'm not an isolationist. I want America to be active in international relations, America first, our principles of democracy and freedom and, you know, free market capitalism and so forth. And if the Ukraine wants to come west, we should certainly preserve that option. But, Alex, you know, from a nuts and bolts standpoint, what's 8,500 troops going to do? And are we protecting what? Are we protecting Poland and the Baltics? Are we protecting the Ukraine? You know, is Putin going to get worried about this? Give me your take, buddy.
Well, Larry, we had an opportunity for the last year, and actually going back to the Obama administration, with a brief interruption during the administration in which we served, to actually provide the deterrence that would be necessary to change Putin's calculation. We didn't do that. You know, other than the Javelin anti-tank missiles that we worked on to send under President Trump, we haven't seen the type of tangible progress that would send the signal that the United States and Western Europe are serious about deterring this type of aggression. I mean, remember, Larry, this is the most significant change to potentially most significant change to the U.S.-led order in Europe since 1945. The idea that Russia could come in and bully a weaker neighbor with force. That's the whole point of NATO and the UN system, is to prevent things like that from happening. And we're sending these mixed messages. One day the president says a minor incursion. The next day we hear about potentially sending 8,500 troops. The incoherence of the policy is undermining the very order that we're supposed to be upholding in Europe.
But troops? Question mark? In other words, I like power, and I like impact, and I like influence. I don't see 8,500. All that's going to do is get a national debate about putting more troops in. You know, half of the debaters are going to say putting troops into Ukraine, which we're not doing, at least not talking about yet. I mean, to me, power is chop Russia off of the dollar-based banking system, which is like 90% of the world's banking system, and stop that darn pipeline that we should have stopped in the first place, should never have given back. I mean, that troops, Alex, really?
Well, Larry, it's obviously, it's out of desperation now that this is even being leaked, and it's certainly not going to be determinant to changing Putin's behavior at this point. We had that opportunity, and the administration, I think, lost it, unfortunately. Now, the real, as you say, the real deterrent at this point is talking about cutting Russia off from the SWIFT banking system, talking about truly penalizing Russian oligarchs and the Putin inner circle from access to the West, to education in the U.S. and the U.K., to truly making sanctions that bite, and continuing what the Trump administration did, which is fortifying our allies and our partners in Eastern Europe, Poland, the Baltics, Southeastern Europe, doing what will prevent Putin from looking at his next prey, and doing it ahead of time instead of waiting to the last moment and then gesturing wildly, hoping to deter him.
Yep, that's it. I like that part. I really do. Should have done it from day one, from nanosecond one. Alex Gray, thanks much. We will revisit with you.